welcome everybody to Real Life with Holly and Regina. Here we are again for another episode. Regina, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing great, Holly. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, really good. So last week we had a great discussion, totally unplanned. But honestly, I mean, I hope everyone who tuned in, or at least someone who tuned in, got something out of it. But I really got something out of it for myself. That was
Me
really
too. I was like, that was
insightful.
so good.
It was good. Maybe if you haven't watched it, you can go find the replay back in the Facebook Lives. But yeah, it was really good. So this week, we're going to talk about what we were originally going to talk about last week.
Exactly.
And Regina, you have a great story to share and some great ideas from that. So how about, just dive in?
Oh, this is great because this is what real life is all about. First of all, our totally unscripted talk from last week that just kind of turned into an entire show, and and just this community in general. So I was able to have dinner recently with Jan DeGallier. She was in Atlanta. I mean, we love Jan in this community. She's just so life-giving. And she was in Atlanta for some work. And she reached out to me, and I loved her. First of all, I love the subject of her email. It said, "Guess what?"
That's so Jan.
We're like, what? So that was so cute, I thought. And she was telling me that she was in town working here in Atlanta, and could I meet her sometime tomorrow? So the email was, I was looking at it late in the day, and she had some free time the next day. And she said, "No pressure. If you can, I understand." And I was like, of course I'm going to try to make this work. And what a great day, because it was a day I didn't have a ton of stuff. And it was just beautiful to get together and have dinner. And while we're having dinner or after, I thanked her and I said, "Jan, thank you so much for reaching out to me." And she said, I almost didn't. And I said, "Oh." She said, "Because I know how busy you are. People just get busy. And I didn't want you to feel pressure to go out." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jan, can you imagine if you did not reach out to me, then this moment would not have happened." I think we were 2 hours, we thought we were going to get together and just have drinks. 2 hours later, we're having dinner, we're talking. It was just this whole thing. And I said to her as we were walking out, I said, "This would not have happened. I'm so glad you did not say no for me." And she's like, "What?" And I said, "Do you remember years ago?" And I think, and Holly, maybe, I don't know if you remember this. I think it was a mentorship call, the first time I've ever heard Paul talk about this.
Yeah.
And somebody was telling him about something, and he was going to, speak into it. And he said, "Why are you saying no for other people?" I have never forgotten that moment. I think because I say no for people all the time. I'm already telling myself why this person can't do this. They don't want to do it. They're too busy to do it. And I was sharing this with Jan, and she said, "Oh my gosh." She said, "On the way over here, I was still even thinking about it." So as we're both driving to meet up, Jan is still thinking, maybe I should have called Regina. Maybe she's busy. It's traffic. We're both trying to meet somewhere. And even second guessing it once we're en route to see each other. And I said, "I'm so grateful that you're sharing this with me," because I didn't feel pressure, because her email said, "Don't feel any pressure." So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have done it, but I did. And so this just reminded me, and maybe this happens to you, but even recently, I say no for other people sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have to talk myself out of it.
100%.
Out of
100%.
it.
You
And
know,
go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that reminds me of where I would do this all the time, and actually it's something I've had to work on a lot as well. When back several years ago, I was I have my own network marketing business, and I think that, I don't know what it is exactly. Well, I kind of have an idea, but I think there's kind of this negative stigma amongst different people about network marketing. And so I would get in my head all the time, well, I shouldn't talk to this person about the business opportunity or the product, so they're not really going to be interested. When it's something that, I really love, that's something that's been really good for me, why am I saying no for that person? I don't know what they have going on in their life. I don't know what they need or don't need. And even, carrying it forward into a more, other sales situations happens all the time, where it's like, okay, I'm thinking, well, should I call this person or not? Well, probably, no, they probably would. They're too busy. They probably wouldn't be interested in this training or this,
That's what Jan thought of. When I told her about this idea, she said, you know what? This is so important to remember for sales because we're going through the sales training.
yeah,
And she said, oh my gosh, this is what I do in sales. And I said, me too, personal and professional. I start to get excited about something. I should call someone, I should email someone, I should make a plan. And I start thinking about why they can't do it. And I start to say no for them. And you are like the sales pro, Holly. You're the sales extraordinaire. So this is something you've had to overcome, as you were just saying, even in your own sales work.
yeah. And to be honest, it's still something I'm working on. It's not something that, I mean, Paul was saying the other day, oh, we have a few spots open in terms of some of his private mentoring spots. And he's like, he listed off a few people who might be interested. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know.
Ah,
Like, I don't want to push them. I don't want them to feel like, like I'm pressuring them and it's like, well, wait a second. I know this is an incredible opportunity. I mean, Paul's calendar books up so fast, and for someone to be able to get in, and I don't know who is thinking about it and who isn't, and it goes for anything, whether it's, the sales boot camp, the great, the bigger sales training that's coming up after the free training. It's like, I don't know, if someone is thinking about, well, what, I really need to develop my skills in sales, and instead I'm like, well, what, I'm sure they're doing good enough in their business. I don't want them to feel pressured. It's like
you
all
know
the
what?
time, like,
It's
gotta,
so cool hearing this from you because, you have reached such a great level in your own sales and you teach sales. So for us to know that are still growing in sales, like I feel like I'm still in kindergarten or first grade, even though I went through it last year, like, okay, maybe I made to the next grade. It's so great to hear you speak about that. That the
yeah,
minute Paul's like, let's talk about getting these people possibly in for mentoring, our first thinking is why they might say no, why we shouldn't call them. And I have to tell you, Holly, I was playing that game with you not that long ago, when we were coming to town. You had Lynetta Albright, Laura Campbell, Paul was doing a vision retreat for them.
yeah,
And I was coming because we were going to go horseback riding, Lynetta and I, and I'm like, oh, why not? You only live once.
yeah,
And it was so funny because I forgot that for vision retreat people, of course, you stay at the house that night. I just totally forgot. So when Lynetta and I were talking on that Monday night, and I think you and I were texting on Tuesday after your 6-figure call, Lynetta and I were talking on Monday. I thought, Lynetta's like, I'll be at the house. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's right. You're staying at the house. And she goes, aren't you staying at the house? And I thought, no, I don't know where I'm staying now. Because I thought she and I were going to be in the hotel.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sure you can stay at the house. Just ask. I'm sure it's going to be just fine. And I thought, okay, I will.
yeah,
And I didn't ask that day
yeah,
because I was working up to. I knew the right thing to do was ask yes or no. Just
yeah,
like when Jan asked me to dinner, the right thing to do is to ask and let me say yes or no. And it was so funny because then you beat me to the punch and you said, oh, Laura and Lynetta are staying here. So if you want to stay here, because I know you're coming, I was like, okay.
yeah,
I was running out of time because I was going to have to ask you. But let me just tell you, I missed a day and then I was going to do it the next day. I missed a day
yeah,
because I was saying no for you and Paul. And it was ridiculous because I knew they were going to be there. So it was really ridiculous. You were already having guests. I was doing that.
yeah,
I was saying no for you.
yeah. And
And I couldn't do it very long because I had to kind of come back to Lynetta and say something.
yeah, well, and if you're idly asked, yeah, it's like, what is it, do you think, that has us doing that? Is it a place of, is it like there's this, is it self-doubt? Is it
Yeah.
fear of what other people will think of us? Is
Yes.
it, so yeah, there's so much going on behind that, kind of underneath the surface, that drives us to,
Because let's suppose you had said no. That
yeah,
doesn't change how I feel about you. That
yeah,
doesn't change our relationship. There was something going on and I couldn't say for some reason. That's okay with me. Like I asked Jan, I said, Jan, had I said no, there would have really been, she's like, it would have been just fine because I would have understood you were busy. This was last minute. So you're right in that we need to ask ourselves what's going on behind that and continue to ask ourselves that question when we don't pull the trigger. I was going to pull the trigger and ask you because I had to. Like it was coming up. I had to get back to Lynetta. It was going to be ridiculous for me to fly into town. Like, oh, Regina's on the hook. She didn't even ask us. So it would be ridiculous for me not to ask. And so I knew that I would. You just
Yeah.
beat me by a little bit because I was going to wait till the next day. And, we were next. And so I felt ridiculous. Not if you had said no, but if I had not done my part.
Yeah.
I had not done my part. And so the biggest time, I don't know if you saw my interview with Bonnie St. John, Paralympic medalist, Bonnie St. John. And this is my biggest lesson. And every time I have to grab myself when I'm going to say no for someone else, because I was interviewing Bonnie St. John, who won silver and bronze in 1984 at the Paralympics. She's an Olympic medalist. She even wore the medals around her neck on my interview. So I kind of got caught up in that for a second. And I asked her, she's a Black woman with one leg.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Bonnie, I have to find out, how did the first ski trip happen? You have one leg. And she said that her high school friend, Barbara, invited her on a ski trip. They were about 15 years old. So her friend, Barbara, invites her, the one-legged girl, skiing.
Wow.
I thought I would have said no for Bonnie in a hot second.
Yep.
And Barbara did not. This woman I've never met is my hero because she invited Bonnie because she said, Bonnie and I are going to have a good time. I love Bonnie. I think she'll enjoy coming on the trip with us. Now, Barbara's mom was a little bit apprehensive. We're really bringing this person with one leg on a ski trip.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if Barbara had said no for Bonnie, Bonnie would have never made that first ski trip when she was 15 or 16 years old. How could she have become an Olympic skier without that first ski trip where she tells the story, she fell down so many times, she was bruised and bloody and just couldn't find her rhythm in that. And yet she loved it.
Wow. Wow.
And she loved it. And I thought, I would have said no for Bonnie. Like she has one leg.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring her, make her feel bad.
It's so true. So true. You know what it makes me think of, Regina, is in Paul's Turning Point seminar on the third day, he teaches the 4 pillars of drama and how, like, I'm just thinking about, okay, when I do this in my life, when I say no for somebody, it's one of the pillars of drama is MSU. We make stuff up and we make up this story in our head where, okay, so for Barbara, for example, in that story, Barbara could have said to herself, well, I don't want Bonnie to feel bad. What if, she could have, maybe if Bonnie, or even the other, let me give you a better example. Like with Jan asking you if you could go to lunch, what if you had said no? Then how likely are we, for me, if I was in Jan's position, how likely am I to think, well, maybe she doesn't really want to spend time with me. Maybe, she's just trying to she's saying, it's like we make stuff up when what's that rooted in? It's,
and
where did that even come from?
That is such a great question. And I've really pulled back from making stuff up. I really, now the say no for other people, I still got a little ways to go on that one, but the pulling back, because I think it was in 2021, I was working with Megan to try to get a date to come back to Florida to see you guys. Roger and I were going to just come in for a couple of days. And Megan said, they can't make it work, but we were getting close to the holidays. So we knew we were going to see you guys at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay. And she sent me back the email, no problem. And the old me would have made up a story.
Yeah.
The old me would have made up a story. And I said, there's no way, because what is realistic is, I know Paul and Holly, we have a wonderful relationship and life happens and it is okay, because I haven't always been available for friends and for outings. And I have felt really bad about that, but I hope that we know that it was just because I couldn't. So when you say, why are we making stuff up? That is the best question ever. Why do we go off on these little tangents in our mind and not trust? Because we talked about trust in one of our last shows.
Yeah.
Why are we not trusting in the belief that we have in the relationship that we have, that sometimes things just don't work out and it's okay? It's not a, that is really a powerful question.
It's, one of the fixes, if you will, to these 4 pillars of drama. One of the ways to circumvent the drama, to stop creating the drama, is to declare noble intent. And it's like, okay, I know you, Regina, you know me. If you had called me up when Lynette and Laura were staying here, or you texted me and I said, well, like, it actually isn't going to work for whatever reason, we have a strong enough relationship that we declare noble intent. It's not because I don't want to spend time with you, God forbid. It's, there's just, it's like, there's always, we don't know the whole story. We don't know everything that's going on in someone else's life. And so, like, can't we declare noble intent that, okay, you know what, they intended the best and they wanted the best, and for where they're at right now, it's just not working out, and I don't need to know the whole story behind it, but that's okay.
And do we have a good relationship without that? I don't think so,
Yeah.
because we all have good days, bad days. We all have time we can spend, and time that for whatever reason is not the right time. And without that declaring noble intent, which is one of the most powerful things in the world, which I really, I pride myself on, even if for a second I go down, I'm going to reel it back real quick and I'm going to declare noble intent. I practice that, because I have to have faith and belief in the relationship that I have. Otherwise, I'm questioning. Otherwise, do you ever stop questioning anything that the person tells you? Or even when you're together, do you ever stop? Can you ever just relax in the relationship, for better or for worse? For time together or time apart? Can you just ever relax and be okay?
Yeah.
And that is so, we said, why do we do that? And we have to constantly ask ourselves that question. But Jan just started me thinking about this again, because I still do that. I still, even if I have to push myself, like, I knew I was going to have to text you or call you no matter what. And I knew that I was, and that was okay. I was just putting it off a day.
Yeah.
Putting it off one more day, because I was like, Holly has a call tonight for 6-figure mentorship. Let her do that. And then I'll get with her tomorrow. That's going to be easier for her.
Which is funny, because, like, it's, as simple as, hey, I was just wondering, if it would be like, it's such a simple question, but we get so wrapped up in her, well, no, she's got, we make it so complicated. And like,
we're making up an entire whole life for a person. Like when Jan said, I almost didn't send the email because I know that you're busy. I could have been just feet up watching TV in that moment, not having a care in the world. Yeah. And so it would have been a disappointment for me not to see Jan, because she was close enough. And in this town, mileage matters. How many miles you are, it matters. And it was just a pleasure, because I was going to work it out to do that, because I was so happy that she reached out to me. And if there had been too big of a barrier, then okay. But it was like, we have to trust the people and the relationship that we have. Otherwise, what do we have?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't trust you to tell me yes or no, and if you say no, then it's going to be okay, then what do we have?
Yep. Yep.
That is, Holly, that's a good one. And that Bonnie St. John story, when she tells me that story, and I was just I was hit with, not embarrassment, but I was hit with just my own, this was a big deal, I thought, to take a woman with one leg skiing is a big deal.
Yeah.
Why am I making everything that big of a deal if somebody says no? Like, can I not hear a no? Am I going to be okay? And then I think about, what do I have right now in my life where I'm not asking someone because I'm already saying no for them? Because right now, Holly, I have a couple of emails and I have a couple of things. And if I'm procrastinating, is that really about saying no for them? Like, they're going to say no for me, so maybe I shouldn't even do this. And it's still kind of on my desk to do.
Yep. Yep. it's one of like Paul says, I remember a teaching he did back in JMT, and he talked about how it never goes away. And that's that voice of, self-doubt, that voice of self-judgment. And it shows up in so many different ways, but it's like, it's always something we got to keep working on. Just know in all kinds of different, for each of us, it's going to show up differently, but it's still going to show up. And what are we doing to continue proactively working on it, working through it, releasing it?
That's a relief, and that's a positive that you would say that, and that you would remind us that Paul says that, because I remember that teaching. It never goes away, because anytime people at a high level share some of the things they're battling, it helps. It's a help when someone says, guess what, I'm still kind of fighting this. Just now when you said, oh, in sales, I still sometimes will start off with the no for other people. I'm like, wow, so okay, Holly's still working on that. It's a relief to me that I don't have to have mastered it yet, but I still have to push forward. I got to push my way through and be okay for the no's. And even in real estate, we used to say that with the no's, all the no's get you closer to the yes. And that the no's are part of life. And is it that we can't hear it? Because my life wouldn't change hearing a no. Like, I'm a strong enough person in most of my relationships and with strangers or with people that I want to do business with if they say no. But really, what opportunities? I think that we had a coach in real estate. What opportunities are we denying other people and ourselves when we say no for other people? What are the opportunities? So I think you probably see that with sales all the time. If you're thinking about those people, Paul's like, I've got mentorship space for people. Here are some people that we might want to reach out to. What are we denying other people? And what are we denying ourselves when we say no for other people? I feel kind of silly sitting here now.
No, don't feel silly.
Yeah, so this is a growth opportunity every time I think we push forward to do that with other people. And that's why I wanted to tell Jan, that's why I wanted to thank her. And I said, thank you for not thanking for me. Because I said, I asked her this question. I said, so what if I had said no? I said, what would that have been? She's like, it would have been just fine. I would have eaten dinner. I would have just, been in my room relaxing maybe a little bit earlier, and it wouldn't have changed our relationship at all. And there you have it. You would have known that I just couldn't have done it, and nothing changed between us. And she goes, that's why I would have taken that. So why is it a big deal, Holly? Why is it a big deal?
It never goes away.
This is one to circle back to, because you just sort of, this conversation has really reignited this whole, why am I making up a story? Why am I saying no for other people? And that it's got to be a continuous work in progress. It never goes away.
Oh, so good. I love her.
Oh, wait, Holly.
So good. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. That was, again, so valuable for me to hear from you, and just to have this dialogue. And everyone who's tuning in, thanks for hanging out with us this evening.
And tell us, write in the comments or post on the Facebook page how this shows up for you. Because I think this is like a common human condition. And I'd love to hear how it shows up for others in their lives. What opportunities are we denying ourselves and others when we just say no? We don't even ask.
100%. Wow. So good. Well, I think that wraps things up for us this evening.
It does, because I've got some work over here to do now, Holly.
I know, right? Like, okay, let's get to it. Thank you so much, Regina. Appreciate you so much, and looking forward to seeing you and Roder soon. And everyone again who's tuning in, thank you so much, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.